I was planning a natural birth, and I was like, well, if I get Pitocin, I'm going to want epidural, because I'm already in a lot of pain. I know Pitocin can make things worse, and I need the rest if that's going to happen, because I've been in labor for 24 hours at this point. So, because true labor started at about 11 a.m. the morning before, on the 15th. So, it was the 16th now. But I wanted to discuss it with my doula and my husband and decide if that's what I really wanted to do, or if I wanted to give myself more time. So, I told them at 10 a.m., I was like, give me another hour and see if I make more progress. If I don't, start me on the pit. If I do, let's just, go without it. Well, 11 o'clock rolls around, and no progress. So, they sent me, I was in a natural birthing room, and if you end up getting an epidural and Pitocin, not Pitocin, but if you end up getting an epidural, then they want you to go to normal birthing room. So, I had to walk over to the normal birthing room. They put in the epidural at 11:15, and it was exactly 11:15 because he had to be at a surgery at 11:30. So, they needed him to do it, then if I was going to get it, or I'd have to wait a couple hours. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get it, I might as well get it now. Stop, please.
No.
My son's kicking me. So, I got the epidural, and it was amazing. No complications whatsoever. They put a pill, exercise ball that's shaped like a capsule, between my legs. And then they checked me again at about 1:30, and I was at a 6. So that was great news, because I started progressing again. So it was about 1:30 when they checked me, and then they checked me again at about 3. I think it was 4:30, and I was at I can't remember if I was at 7 or 8. I'll have to go back and check my texts, but I'm pretty sure I think I was between 7 and 8. I think it was like 7.5. And then they checked me again at 6:30, and I was at a solid 8. But they had me rotating side to side with my epidural, so that way they can get her in a really good position. So they had me on one side for 2 hours, and then they switched me over and had another side for 2 hours with one of my legs elevated. And that worked really well, because by 7:30 I was at 10. 7:30 I was at 10 centimeters. So it was at 6, I think it was around 6 I was at 8, and then between 7:30 and 8 I was at 10. And I could tell, because I was feeling pressure, and I wasn't feeling the need to push yet, so they were just they wanted to see if I could get her down, bear her down a little bit, and I couldn't. I was starting to be able to feel my contractions, because I knew I was having them, but they didn't hurt. I could tell when they started, and I could tell when they stopped, but I was not having any pain with them. It was mostly just like a tingling feeling near my downstairs. And then, they had me push a couple times to see if I could bring her down at all. And I didn't, but they weren't concerned. They were just like, we're going to give you an hour, because the on-call doctor has an emergency C-section anyway. So we're just going to wait until he gets out. Well, timing came. I started feeling the contractions pretty quick after I started those practice pushes. And I was so frustrated with the nurse, because they wanted her to be at a 1 or a 2 station, and I was only at a 1 station, +1 station. And they wanted me to be at a +2 station before I truly started pushing. And they wanted her to get into that position herself using my contractions without pushing. And that was a pain in the butt. At about 7:45, I wanted to push. I was in so much pain. I could feel everything. I started feeling everything at about 7. I was still numb, but I was starting to feel my contractions. And then I was feeling them more, and it was her putting pressure on my back. My back hurt so bad. So they wanted her to get to +2 station on her own. So my doula, my husband, my nurse, they were all talking me through the contractions, helping me, telling me how to breathe through them. And I was like, no, I need a push. I cannot, and I cannot stop pushing. I was trying not to push, but it wasn't working. And they didn't believe me. It's like, I can't help it. I mean, if I need to push, I'm going to push. And so finally, at about 8:45 or 9, between 8:45 and 9, the doctor finally showed up. It was apparently a really bad situation with the emergency C-section, But he finally showed up. It wasn't my doctor, but he was really awesome. He looked at my birth plan the night before, knew exactly what I wanted. And so I was finally able to start pushing, and I was a great pusher. I only pushed for 30 minutes. And she was born at 9... What time were you born at? 9:23. She was born at 9:23 p.m. She was 8 pounds, 5 ounces, so she was nearly 2 pounds smaller than her brother and 19.5 inches long. And I tell you what, having a VBAC is the best decision I have made pregnancy-wise between both my kids. Hands down, best decision I could have made. She, unfortunately, was, because I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I was, please don't tell me I wasn't recording this. Okay, good. 20 minutes. Because I had a low-grade fever when I showed up, she ended up having a low-grade fever when she was born. So, they put her right on my chest, but they wanted to check her and see how she was. Her APGAR was great. I think she was 8 to 9. But she did have a fever. So, unfortunately, I got to be with her for maybe 30 minutes to an hour after she was born, and then they sent her off to the NICU. And I didn't get to nurse her for the first time until 4 a.m. And it was awful. I was so upset. I was so frustrated. But they wanted to keep her just in case, she had because I was group B strep positive, so they wanted to make sure she didn't have that, even though I was on the antibiotics the whole time I was there. Oh, and that hurt too. Oh my gosh. Sometimes that hurt worse than the contractions, the antibiotics going into my IV. Oh, that was painful. Hurt. It nearly made me cry. It hurt so bad when it first went in. The IV itself wasn't a big deal. They did blow my vein, and then my wrist was bruised for a month. It's okay. But they kept her in the NICU just for observation, make sure she didn't have any infections, and she didn't. They think her fever was environmental and not an infection. And mine too, because I think they just think it was just my body being so reactive to the contractions and stuff. And they didn't think it was anything related to my water breaking. So, that was good news. She was perfectly fine, and we got to go home from the hospital together. I nursed her in the hospital as much as I could. I did have to supplement. I don't even really call it supplementing because she didn't need that much of it. Mostly, I just squirted some formula on me so she'd get excited to nurse. And I think the most she had of actual formula in a feeding was an ounce, and that was maybe once or twice. I don't even think she had that much. She did not like the bottle at all, did you? You did not like it. And she's almost 4 months old now. She'll be 4 months old on the 16th. And she is still slowly nursing. She's only had, I think, a taste of a couple of breast milk bottles since she's been home from the hospital. We've been doing great. And my recovery, I still have pain every once in a while. Just more like super sensitive and blood flow and stuff, but the actual recovery itself was maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I had a 2-degree tear, but I did not have an episiotomy. I did not want one. I told him I'd rather tear on my own if I was going to tear, and I did. And that went great. The healing went great. So yeah, that is her birth story. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I will try to answer those in another video. But thank you for watching. Bye.